Well, good morning, everyone. We have a chance to dive into more of the Prince legacy. So, first and foremost, good morning. Welcome to Collecting Prince the podcast. Excited to have you here with us today to really just dive into some music, dive into the legacy of the music artist that we know as Prince, and have a little bit of fun doing it. My name is Brian Walton. I am a longtime Prince collector, music historian, educator, and have been collecting since about 1985 actively. And so have a pretty large collection, but really just enjoy what the music has meant. And so we're excited to share some of that with you today. So, good morning. If you are joining this podcast live, certainly shout out in the comments, let me know where you are watching from. But we are about to get started, and today is the awaited start of album project features. And so this one, we're starting with the first commercially released album project, which is For You. And we're going to talk quite a bit about that. And so glad to have you here on this Saturday morning to talk about Prince and the music. So today we are going all the way back to the beginning of the Prince legacy, or close to the beginning, because Prince's legacy starts well before his time with Warner Brothers in 1978. And if you have followed the music for some time, you know that he actually had a couple of projects and a couple of bands while in high school in Minneapolis. He had one release that came out later, the Lewis Collection, and then, of course, 94 East with his friend Andre Simone and some others to really have, start making some noise, at least where they were, which later got him discovered by Owen Husney, who brought him to Warner Brothers, and that started the whole thing that we know about Prince today. So for you, let's kick this off and let's set the stage for it. We're talking about April 1978, and there are a lot of significant things about this project. And some indication that this artist was going to be very, very different on the music scene. And however, I'm sure that very, very few people other than Prince had the idea that he would become the icon that he is today, and his music catalog would be so prolific, varied, and diverse that he would have the huge loyalty and following of fans all over the world, even after his passing in April 2016. And so Prince is a significant figure. I consider him to be the most prolific musician that we've seen. And so what's great about it is we get a chance to see his beginnings. And so let's look at, let me pull. So this is the album we are talking about today. We are talking about For You. And this happens to be a Japanese pressing of the album. This is a promo copy. And so this is a Japanese pressing of For You. And you'll see the sample there. See where it's sample there. That is a very limited run that they did for media outlets in Japan to promote the project, which makes it a lot more rare. Japanese pressings hold quite a bit of value because when they pressed the albums and CDs, they pressed fewer copies of them on each master, and so the sound quality did not diminish as much as other countries that produced as many as they could until the master fell apart. And so the sound quality is very, very high. But this is the Japanese pressing of For You, Prince's first album, released in April 1978, that features the hit, Soft and Wet, Just as Long as We're Together, and a few other notable tracks. But it's the beginning of the legacy of Prince as we know him as a commercial artist. And so, what's great about that project is that You have to understand how revolutionary Prince was in the very beginning. One thing that we know about companies, corporate entities, and businesses is that they abide by strict policies and rules and regulations. And so for him to come in as such a young man, he was 19 years old when the album debuted, and to go to a major record company, a powerhouse like Warner Brothers, and basically say, I don't need anyone's help. I don't need big name producers. I just need some time to work on this myself. And this is a project that he did almost entirely by himself, which is unbelievable. And in most cases, it's almost impossible to imagine this happening simply because record companies do not typically give that much freedom or leeway to someone that they're attempting to make money off of. So um, that was a unique thing, but it's a testament to either their belief in him or their insanity. But as we know, it worked out because we have the legacy of the music that Prince created, not just at Warner Brothers, but at Arista, at EMI, as an and also as an independent artist. And so we are glad that the story came about, but it all started with For You in April 1978. And so where it's this project really kicked the door open because people were hearing, from an artist that had complete control, and that doesn't mean that there were big commercial hits. We'll look at the charts and see where For You landed, and it was later on that he started to get the acclaim because he then had the Prince album in 1979 that started to get a little bit more buzz, and people were starting to figure out, hey, we know who this guy is. But Prince was already well known in Minneapolis because of the bands that he worked with, and he was just such a unique figure. And so that's what's so interesting about For You. And so remember, this is Collecting Prince, the podcast. So it's not just the history of Prince. We start to look at now, what were some of the early releases or some of the things that came out of this project that are significant to collectors. And so I'm going to show a couple of items that are, not only very, very, very rare to um, to see and to find out there, what we call out there in the wild. But this is it's interesting to me that any of these items survived because we're talking about 1978 to now, but we're also talking about items surviving in good condition. But promotional items were not taken care of. Any materials that were sent to radio stations, record companies, or record stores, they were there to be put up to promote a project, and then they needed to be moved out. Many of them were immediately destroyed, thrown away, torn, damaged, have staples in them, tape on them. There's a number of things that promotional items went through that lets us know if you can retain a promotional item from 1978 in very, very good condition, you are extremely lucky because they didn't survive most of what was going on. And so, what's interesting about this project is that there are items out there, and I'm going to show you a couple of those items in just a moment. But there are items out there that are very, very expensive to obtain, but also there's a very limited number because, again, promotional items were not retained. They were there to promote a project, and then the radio station, record store, they had another item to promote as soon as other releases came out, and so they would discard those items and then start putting up the new things. And so very little thought or care was given to these items, and so to find them in great condition is wonderful, and it's sort of a time capsule into the past to see items from that time. And so we'll start with a couple of items that are from that era and talk about the rarity. talk about what makes them unique, and then really just see some things that you won't normally see. So one of the things for collectors that I'll share is that there are certain things that make items more and more special to have in your collection because they're scarce. That means there are very, very few copies of it, or um, it's a it focuses on a specific time or a day where we know if you weren't there, you just missed it. And what's interesting about this one is that this item actually is retained in the actual original envelope that it was sent in from Warner Brothers. And so we get a chance to see some history. Um, so we get a chance to see some history. So this was a promotional item that was sent to a record store, and it was sent to a record store in Louisville, Kentucky, from Warner Brothers. And I'll start with showing you the promotional packaging. This is the envelope that this item was sent in. The item is a poster, and we're going to see that in just a moment. But this is the original promotional envelope that this was sent in to this particular record store. And so we get a chance to see really the first Warner Brothers promotional item sent out. There is a different postcard and poster, but this is one of the items that was sent to promote the project. And we get a chance to look at it here. So this is the poster, and you can still see it still has its gloss, which is great, no tears. And it says on Warner Brothers Records and Tapes. And we know that this was a promotional item, shipped directly from Warner Brothers. And let's see if we can get this corner and see what we have written here. There's Prince's face. On Warner Brothers Records and Tapes. And there we have Warner Brothers Records printed in the USA. And so this is to promote the album For You. And so that's a very, very rare item to have a promotional poster, but to also have it in its original mailing envelope, which will certainly, ramp up the value of the item. But it's just interesting to see any objects from that time period because we're talking about 1978. The next item that I want to share with you is, and this is definitely dated for a couple of reasons. So, in order to promote the project, the marketing department at Warner Brothers wanted to be creative, and in at the time period, they wanted to make sure that they were, capturing an audience, specifically a young audience, because they could build long-term customers and tie into the fan base. This was a very young artist at the time, 19 years old. And so it gave them an opportunity to reach other young people who might have a connection with him or, the feeling of a new wave of music. And so one of the things that they did, and this is really an item of the times, is that for schools, for students in schools, we know back in 1978, people were covering their textbooks with book covers. And so I believe that sometimes it happens nowadays, but most of those are very, very different from the brown paper bag book covers that we had. But Warner Brothers, in their thinking, said, well, let's make a book cover. We can, give this out and people will have this on their books. And I'm sure if someone that was a fan of music or heard the first LP and said, hey, I would love to have a book cover, I can imagine that book. The book may have survived in good condition, but certainly not the book cover. And I have one of those here. So we get a chance to really see what it looks like. Yep, upside down. And you'll notice, at the very beginning, at the top, we have the instructions to actually use this to cover your book. And then we have the photo of Prince there. And this is a book cover, and there it says, this book belongs to, so that you could personalize this and have it around. And I will tell you, these are extremely rare. And if you still have one in your book, it would still even have value. It doesn't have to be in perfect condition, because this is one of the original this is the original promotional, one of the original promotional releases for Prince at the time. And so we get a chance to see young Prince. This is him at about 19 years old, maybe 18 when they shot this to promote the release. And so we're seeing Prince at a very young age, but we're seeing him on promotional material that is very rare. So wonderful. We get a chance to see this, and this, of course, is one of the first promotional items for the project. Great. So we have a little Prince music in the background. And of course, it has to be something that was not released, because it will get censored. But as we look on, let's look at the items that were on the actual album project. And we get a chance to see that we see For You, In Love, Soft and Wet, which did chart for Prince, both on the top 100 and on the R&B charts. We have Crazy You, Just As Long As We're Together, another song that made it into the top 100. And then the other side had Baby, My Love Is Forever, So Blue, and I'm Yours. And what is most interesting about this, other than co-writing credits on the hit song Soft and Wet, this is all Prince. And that makes it very unique. First of all, to have a 19-year-old that people didn't know, to have the freedom of expression and control. We know that later Prince would have slave written on his face in order to break from Warner Brothers, but Warner Brothers took a very big chance on him, and that chance paid off. And they gave him a lot of creative control, which is unheard of. And so this is the LP that kicked it off, and so yeah, this is how it started. And a look at we'll just take a quick look at the actual Japan pressing white label promo. So here's what it looks like. And you can look closely and see song 3, Soft and Wet, which was the big hit which was charted from the album. I wouldn't say it was a very big hit, but it's definitely got radio play. It wasn't really until his next album that, you started hearing songs really get more buzz, and then start to create the discography, that we know of Prince today. So one of the things, again, about that particular project that makes it interesting is that in 1978, uh, artists usually got a record deal, and they were taking the guidance of the record company, often the record company wouldn't, connect them with people that were already on the label. And so nowadays, we know it's much more common for an artist to make a deal and say, I want to get the hot producer, even if this producer or this particular person may be signed or working with another label or record company. And then the attorneys would have to hash it out before they would work. In the past, you work with the writers, the producers that were connected to the label. Period. That's how it worked. But what was interesting, they really knew something. I don't know what they saw in Prince, but they definitely knew there was something special about him. Because for a 19-year-old, 18, 19-year-old to get the ability to just walk in and say, I've got it, I'll take care of everything. And really, other than co-writing credits on the song Soft and Wet, what you're getting is all Prince. And when you listen to it, you certainly hear the beginnings of his use of falsetto, and his ability to have music and silence play a major part in a song. But the Prince we would later know, the pop commercial side, as well as the eclectic, more alternative side, that is to emerge later. But what's great about this project is that it is the beginning. There likely wouldn't be a Prince story without this album, without this project, without this beginning with Warner Brothers. There would be a Prince story, but certainly maybe not as widely known as what we know now, because he is still an international music icon that garners an incredible amount of attention, which is why this podcast works with giving information to fans all over the world. And so, and even with the Prince estate now, even after his passing in 2016, the estate is still releasing material that in some cases has not been heard by the public, or certainly not heard widely. And so you get a chance to see what was going, songs that, either were not released, or certainly different versions of songs than what we've ever heard before. And so I will say that in the Prince community, there is sometimes criticism of the Prince estate. Oh, I wish they would do this. I wish they would do that. I would say, honestly, just, I mean, considering that Prince passed in 2016, just be thankful that you're getting things that you wouldn't have heard before. I know with the 1999 deluxe box set, there were so many songs released there that hadn't been released before. And so while as Prince fans, we want to hear everything all the time. Uh, I think that this state is really doing a pretty good job of trying to get these things cleared and out. And so, certainly, as fans and collectors, we want everything yesterday. But we have to understand that these things take a process, and it'll be interesting to see, will there be some deals made for re-release of projects that were not under Warner Brothers, and see what those deals might look like. For example, his time at Arista, um, uh, yeah, and then his time at EMI, and then some of his later work with Third Eye Girl. It'll be interesting to see how these things come out, or if they come out. And so again, it all started with For You in April 1978. You have a young kid, just becoming an adult, 18, 19 years old, releasing his first album on Warner Brothers from the cold city of Minneapolis. And so we're glad that it happened. And so it really kicks off the legacy. And so, just to also share, there are promotional items from this project. There are promo 7-inch records, the 45s. There are white label promotional copies. There are you know gold stamp promos. In other words, where the label was stamped, it looks like a regular release, but it'll have a stamp on the back, or some sort of marking. I've seen sometimes the stamps on the front, the circular stamp on the front, sometimes just so that you get a chance to see what was sent to radio stations to promote the project, record stores. If they want to play it in-house, they may have had a marked copy. But to see the different types is very interesting. So you had the 45s, you had the LPs, you had the posters. There is another poster and postcard that looks very similar to the image we just saw in the On the book cover. That image is also replicated on a postcard, which is extremely rare. And a poster. Postcard usually goes for around $800, and the poster can be $1,000 and up easy, especially in very very good condition. And the book cover is also a very rare one. You don't see those come up too often, but those are usually in about the $700 range, maybe even more. Again, I follow most of the sales that take place, of items, and so these are, for collectors, these are very pricey items and very very rare items to get. But it's great to have the opportunity to share some of this information with you, and then look at um, different things that took place in the sphere of Prince. And so what you're listening to right now is an actual live performance that was done on March 7th, 1982. This is actually live, so I have to play things that were not commercially released, because if they were commercially released, then we're violating rules, and then it'll get the stream shut down, and we don't want to do that. But just want to make sure that we are listening to things that stay in the mode of what we're doing. But in the future, we are going to look at other album projects. So today's show is focused on the 1978 album For You. And so next week, we are going to dive into the 1979 album, simply titled Prince. And so we'll get a chance to look at that, and dive into some of the promotional items around that. But more importantly, I'm really glad that you're tuning in, whether you're tuning in live or you're tuning in on the recording on YouTube. It's great to have you here, and we will continue to talk about collecting the music of Prince. And there are so many different media and medium for the music. I know that for the For You project, I have those posters there, postcard, different versions of the album, whether they're US versions and all of that. But also, I have the 8-track tape. I have a couple of copies of the original 8-track. Yes, 8-track tapes. They were very popular in that time period. They were actually current media, as well as regular cassettes that were out at the time. And as we move forward, we'll get into the era of CDs, which did not come about until the 1999 album. That was the first advent of the CDs in Prince's discography. So we'll get a chance to look at that. But uh, thank you so much for your time today as we dive into collecting Prince, and look at some of the items that we have, or that are available. And so this is all currently under the Walton collection. And we are doing an exhibition of the collection shortly here in the Bay Area. And we will look at other opportunities to share pieces of the collection. The larger collection covers Black cultural memorabilia from the Harlem Renaissance to the present. But certainly on this show, we're talking really just focused on Prince and related artists. And there are so many artists that are connected to Prince, that even a display of just Prince and related artists could literally fill an entire very large warehouse at any point, because there's so many artists that either received songs from Prince that actually played in his or other versions, entities of the bands. We're talking about the Time, we're talking about the Family, we're talking about Vanity Six, Apollonia Six, and we're talking about the other associated artists like Jill Jones, and moving forward, all the way up to uh, you know people that worked with related artists, like Sly Stone worked with Jesse Johnson on Crazy, which was a single that came out. And it was a wonderful tribute of bringing Sly Stone back. We know that he has recently passed, but just the people that have been connected to the Prince experience, it's amazing. And so there are a number of items that are out there. I have quite a few. I don't have all of them, but I work with collectors all over, and so many of them have some items that really haven't really been seen by the general public too often. But I will certainly say that I connected with Facebook group, the Paisley Five and Dime, and they've been instrumental in me getting, and working with, Eric. and that crew. They've been very wonderful about connecting me with other collectors and all of that. And there are other pages out there, and certainly so Explore and other groups. I know that here in the Bay Area, we have Purple Funk SF for San Francisco, and they are active, as well as the Arizona Paisleys. Shout out to Terry and Travis out there doing a fantastic job. And I also, there are groups in the UK. We have several collectors that, whenever I do an online auction, they're around. Collectors from the UK, from Australia, from Canada, and want to make sure that you know we have the voice and hear from collectors all over the world, which is exciting. But as we close out today, thank you for being here. We are collecting prints, and join us next time as we talk about collecting prints, the podcast. Have a wonderful day.